fact that, according to Agent Stansky's testimony on page 2, she was the only individual who drove a Japanese-made minivan, which is part of the TIF, that had Canadian license plates through that checkpoint. Thus, she was the only individual who had matched that description that day. According to the FBI report, page 1, what was in addition to that anonymous tip was that she was a French-speaking woman driving as I stated, a Japanese-made minivan with Canadian license plates along Interstate 90 with a Canadian license plate, and she was supposed to be, she could have ammunition for the intent of completing a terrorist attack in the city of Chicago on May 1st. As stated in Agent Stansky's testimony on page 2, she was the only individual that went through that checkpoint that day that matched that description.
So it's a good tip, but I'm still not seeing how that's going to the immediacy of the threat.
The immediacy and the threat is the fact that she could have been carrying ammunition, which could be explosives or weaponry. It was labeled as ammunition. The immediacy is that if there was explosives in that minivan, wherever that minivan went that day, it was a threat. Because if there was explosives, it could have harmed the public, it could have harmed the officers. So wherever that minivan went, there was a threat to the public, an immediate threat, and that would have fallen under the public safety exception.
Okay, so help me understand and give me a good reason why if they stopped her at 2:30 in the afternoon at the checkpoint and blah 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 happens for all day long, and then 4 or 5 hours later we finally get on down the line. What's with the police dragging their feet? If this was so immediate, to me that belies the whole argument that this was immediate, because they're just kind of out there doing their thing, taking their time.
No, Your Honor, they weren't necessarily taking their time. What they were doing was that they were acting responsibly and not making rash decisions in light of the circumstances. During the pause of the checkpoint, what they did was actually contact headquarters during that time frame, and headquarters told them to let her go for the sole purpose of keeping tabs on her. They followed her to Ada Sanders' home and actually made contact with her again. They asked for her identification and then went back to contacting headquarters. They went back to the minivan, in which headquarters then informed them to aggressively question her under the public safety exception and that the Canadian consulate had been notified. Now, unlike what was stated by my co-counsel in which he implied that the exception is very narrow, under U.S. v. Hernandez, we actually adopt a broad approach in terms of how we question individuals under the public safety